cha tatvena praveshtum cha parantapa. Bhaktya, by devotional service. 2. But ananaya, without being mixed with fruitive activities or speculative knowledge. Sakhya, possible. Aham, I. Evam vidihi, like this. Arjun, O Arjuna. Jnatum, to know. Drashtum, to see. Tatvena, in fact. Pravestum, and to enter into. Cha, also. Pranantap, O mighty armed one. By devotional service, but without being mixed with fruitive activities or speculative knowledge. Possible, I like this, O Arjun, to know, to see, in fact, and to enter into. Also, O mighty armed one. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. My dear Arjun, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. Purport: Krishna can be understood only by the process of undivided devotional service. He explicitly explained this in the verse, so unauthorized commentators who try to understand Bhagavad Gita by the speculative process will know that they are simply wasting their time. No one can understand Krishna or how he came from parents in 400 form and at once changed himself into two-handed form. It is clearly stated here that no one can see him. Those who, however, are very experienced students of Vedic literature can learn about him from the Vedic literature in so many ways. There are so many rules and regulations, and if one at all wants to understand Krishna, he must follow the regulatory principles described in authoritative literature. One can perform penance in accordance with those principles. As far as charity is concerned, it is plain that charity should be given to devotees of Krishna who are engaged in devotional service to spread the Krishna philosophy or Krishna consciousness throughout the world. Krishna consciousness is a benediction to humanity. Lord Chaitanya was appreciated by Rupa Goswami as the most munificent man of charity because love of Krishna, which is very difficult to achieve, was distributed freely by him. And if one worship as prescribed in the temples in India, there is always some state statue, usually of Vishnu or Krishna. That is a chance to progress. For the beginners in devotional service to the Lord, temple worship is very essential, and this is confirmed in the Vedic literature. One who has unflinching devotion for the Supreme Lord and is directed by the spiritual master can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead by revelation. For one who does not take personal training under the guidance of bona fide spiritual master, it is possible to even begin to understand Krishna. The word too is specifically used here to indicate that no other process can be recommended, or can be successful in understanding Krishna. The personal form of Krishna, the 200 form, and the 400 are completely different from the temporary universal form shown to Arjuna. The 400 form is Narayan, and the 200 form is Krishna. They are eternal and transcendental, whereas the universal form exhibited to Arjuna is temporary. The very word Sudarshanam, meaning difficult to see, suggests that no one saw that universal form. It also suggests that amongst the devotees, there was no necessity of showing it. That form was exhibited by Krishna at the request of Arjuna because in the future, when one represented himself as an incarnation of God, people can ask to see his universal form. So Krishna changes from, from the universal form to the four-handed form of Narayan and then to his natural form of two hands. This indicates that the four-handed forms and other forms mentioned in Vedic literature are all emanates of the original two-handed Krishna. He is the origin of all emanations. Krishna is distinct even from these forms, not to speak of the impersonal conception. As far as the 400 forms of Krishna are concerned, it is stated clearly that even the most identical 400 form of Krishna, which is shown as Mahavishnu, who is lying on the cosmic ocean and from whose breathing so many innumerable universes are passing out and entering, is also an expansion of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, one should conclusively worship the personal form of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is eternity, bliss, and knowledge. He is the source of all forms of Vishnu. He is the source of all Vishnu. He is the source of all forms of incarnation, and he is the original personality, Supreme Personality, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. In the Vedic literature, it is stated that the Supreme Absolute Truth is a person. His name is Krishna, and he sometimes descends on this earth. Similarly, in Srimad Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a description of all kinds of incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And there it is said that the Krishna is not an incarnation of God, but is original Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Krishna tu Bhagwan Swayam. Similarly, in Bhagavad Gita, Lord says that Matha Parataraha Nanyat. There is nothing superior to my form as the personality of Godhead Krishna. He also says elsewhere in Bhagavad Gita, Aham Adirhi Devanam. I am the origin of all the demigods. And after understanding Bhagavad Gita from Krishna, Arjuna also confirms this in the following words: Param Brahma, Param Dham, Pavitram, Paramam Bhavan. I now fully understand that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, and that you are the refuge of everything. Therefore, the universal form which Krishna showed to Arjuna is not the original form of God. The original is the Krishna form. And the universal form, with its thousands and thousands of heads and hands, is manifest just to draw the attention of those who have no love for God. It is not God's original form. The universal form is not attractive for pure devotees who are in love with the Lord in different transcendental relationship. The Supreme Godhead exchanges transcendental love in his original form of Krishna. Therefore, to Arjun, who was so intimately related with Krishna as friendship, this form of the universal manifestation was not pleasing. Rather, it was fearful. Arjuna, who is the constant companion of Krishna's, must have had transcendental eyes. He was not an ordinary man, therefore he was not captivated by the universal form. This form may seem wonderful to persons who are involved in elevating themselves by productive activities, but to persons who are engaged in devotional service, the two-handed form of Krishna is the most dear. Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gurudev ki jai. So, my particular this from this particular verse realization is that here in the translation, Lord says that only by undivided devotional service you can know me. So, so, so Srila Prabhupada mentioned in the purport that Many people think that Krishna is an imaginary, but this verse proves that he can be seen directly if we have pure devotion, love, pure devotional service. And only he can reveal to those who are in pure devotional service. The devotional service is not only allows us to see Krishna, but also helps us to understand his eternal pastime and which is in the spiritual world. Like Krishna, Arjuna, Krishna is revealing here to his universal form to Arjuna, but he still emphasizes that his personal form, that is Shamsundar, is the ultimate truth, understood only through bhakti. So, we have to understand Lord. The easiest way to develop bhakti is by only the chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, with our sincerity. So if we serve Lord with love, then Krishna is pleased when we serve him and his devotees selflessly without any hidden motive. So we have to read and understand through Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. So that understanding will only come through Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. So we have to surrender to Krishna. If we surrender fully and trust Krishna and giving up all distraction, what we like in material world, we have a lot of distraction. But if we given up all these, then we are on the right way of the devotional service path. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 66, Lord says that Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mama Ekam Sharanam Vraja. Krishna tells Arjun that abandon all other duties and fully surrender unto him. And Arjuna, we all know that Arjuna follows his instruction, and the result we all know that because he was the best friend. It's Srila Prabhupada mentioned here that, and he had um, uh, uh, his vision, and Krishna has given him the special vision to see his forms. So in Bhagavad Gita, which proves here in Bhagavad Gita chapter 9, verse 34, that to think always Krishna, man mana bhavo mad bhakto mad yadi mama namaskuru. Krishna instructs for everyone that to always think of him, worship him, bow down, and that way you will get very clear devotion service or love from Krishna. The devotion service, what we are talking, Srila Prabhupada explains in that in purport that this true devotion means always keep Krishna is the most important person in our life. So we have to learn that no matter what happens, it's like we have to. It means that loving him with our sincere devotion with our heart, and not letting anything, even any small thing, even distraction. We should not allow those distraction in in devotional service. So we have seen that in Prahlad Maharaj, when he was a small boy, his father tried to kill him in many ways. Like he throw him from the mountain, putting him in the fire, giving him even poison. But Prahlad Maharaj was never scared. He always used to keep chanting Krishna's name. And because he trusted Krishna completely, Krishna protected him every time. And at the end, when uh, the Krishna appeared as Lord Narasimha to save him. So what I understand from this is, for me, is that any difficulties come in our life, it always comes materially, especially. Then I should not give any devotion what I'm following at this moment in the association of the devotees. The Krishna will always protect, but provided that if you are like continuous in devotion service, whether any difficulties come. Even in another example of Ambrish Maharaj, he was a great king, and he never became proud of his kingdom or his kingdom. He ruled the whole world kingdom but always he used to remember Krishna and serve him. Once a powerful sage, Draumani, got angry and sent a fiery demon to kill Amrish Maharaj. But Amrish Maharaj didn't fight back because he was simply dependent on the Krishna. But Krishna saved him through the Sudarshan Chakra. But that shows that if we have even we see that in material world nowadays, if you have power, wealth, or so they puffed up, they think that they are the supreme. But here, this is a good example for us, for me, is that even if you got power, even if you got wealth, fame, we should not forget Krishna. And because we know that by seeing that he is a real protector for everyone. So even I think Amrishu many times he mentioned about the gopis' love. Gopis, cowherd girls of Vrindavan, they loved Krishna so much that they thought about him all the time. When Krishna played his flute, they left everything and even their families and ran away to him. So they didn't care what the society says, what are the society's rules, because they just wanted to see Krishna, they wanted to be with Krishna. So even Krishna himself said that no one loves him as much as the gopis do. So that is the highest devotion in loving Krishna so much that nothing else matters. So no matter what happens, whether we are suffering, I'm suffering, or whether I'm successful or deeply in love, we should always keep Krishna first. That is real and undivided devotional service to Lord. Hare Krishna, this is my realization.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you, His Grace Amrish Prabhu, Her Grace Pragya Devi Dasi Mataji, and His Grace Krishna Smarpan Krishna Prabhu for organizing these wonderful classes where we can share our realizations. And thank you, His Grace Sopan Prabhu, for sharing your realization, focusing on how the pure loving devotion service is required to see Krishna, to realize Krishna. How important is that, and the reference you given with other pure devotees like Prahlad Maharaj and Ambrish Maharaj. So exalted personalities, they how they performed and 100% dependent on Krishna. And devotees mean, I remember His Grace Amrish Prabhu was saying that point was stuck in my mind, that devotee mean 100% dependence on Krishna, like gopis in Vrindavan. So yeah, that's the pure devotional service. So I'll recite the verse and then I'll share my realization. Thank you. Shila Gurudev ki jai, Shila Prabhupada ki jai. Bhaktya tav ananya shakya aham evam vidho arjuna ज्ञातुं द्रष्टुं च तत्त्वेन प्रवेष्टुं च परन्तप. What was Shananam? Translation purport by Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. My dear Arjun, only by undivided devotion service can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. So, what I realize from this verse is that, well, the first point is that Krishna, Srila Prabhupada are saying that Krishna can be understood only by the process of undivided devotion service. As Sopan Prabhu also mentioned that. So, I have realized from this point is that we have studied in previous chapters also that only by pure devotion service we can serve Krishna, and mixed devotion service or other ways like speculative process or yogic mystic process, all these ways we cannot understand Krishna. Although Srila Prabhupada are saying that here that regulative principles, penance, charity, temple worship also required if one wants to understand Krishna. Whereas in previous verse, it is said by all these process, one cannot see Krishna. So it seems contradiction. But if we read Srila Prabhupada's purport completely, then we can understand that we require pure devotion service. In the center, all others rules and regulation can be dovetailed in devotion service. Because Srila Prabhupada are saying one who has unflinching devotion can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead by revelation. So it is impossible for those who doesn't take personal training under the bona fide guidance of spiritual master. This is very important point for me that I have realized that yes, we require personal training, and for this we require living link to disciplic succession. So first we must be ready to be trained. We have to prepare ourselves, and then training source must be bona fide and pure. Now see why we say pure devotional service is simple but rare. It is extreme causeless mercy of Krishna and Vaishnavas that we got this chance. Otherwise, it is next to impossible to understand Krishna. Sudur darsham, very difficult to see. Another point is that Krishna is distinct even from other forms and incarnations. What to speak of impersonal conception? So we have discussed in our last Sunday class that God and the absolute supreme truth are different. And Prabhuji very nicely and in simple way explained with reference that how it is so. Some points here is that Krishna expand himself in different expansions, four-handed form and other incarnations, and four-handed and four Purusha avatars. Sorry, and the four-handed Purusha avatars, different Vishnus. But he is the source of all forms of Vishnu. Krishna is the supreme absolute truth, Sammam Bonam. So Srila Prabhupada are saying Krishna is not an incarnation of Lord, of God, but he is original personality of supreme personality of Godhead himself. Now this is the point that is not very easily understood. Because Srila Prabhupada are saying that Arjuna, who is a constant companion of Krishna's, must have had transcendental eyes. He was not an ordinary man. Therefore, he was not captivated by universal form. So I have realized that pure devotion service is very simple but rare, and it is given to us very easily by the causeless mercy of Srila Prabhupada and Srila Gurudev. So if revelation not happening by our chanting in our heart, then we must study Srila Prabhupada's books, in which Srila Prabhupada's purpose will reveal to us this pure knowledge. And there is no other way to understand Krishna, because in the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentioned this word tu, means there is no other process, other way is mentioned to understand Krishna apart from pure devotion service. So Krishna himself are saying here that all other ways one cannot see me as I am. Because this is important, where Krishna says, me as I am, because as it is, because we see things in different ways with our perceptions, with our conceptions, but seeing as it is something you need very purity, and purity flows when we strictly follow our instructions of our seniors, our Gurudev, our Vaishnavas in association. So, and that purity attracts people also, because that purity coming from Krishna through disciplic succession. And that's what we really can maintain. Otherwise, it's nothing else in our hand. We can't force or we can't follow any process to see Krishna or understand Krishna. So Yeah, that's what those points I have realized, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you, great Amrish Prabhu, our guest Pundipaga Devi Dasi Mataji, his guest and Krishna Samarpa Krishna Prabhu. And thank you and Hare Krishna to all the devotees for listening to me. And thank you the devotees who have actually shared their nectarian realization. Uh, so, why? Okay, I'll start. Bhaktva Tantvananya Shakya Aham Evam Vidho Arjuna Gyatum Drishyum Cha Tatvena Praveshtum Cha Param Tapa. Translation purport Srila Prabhupada ki jai. My dear Arjun, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am standing before you and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. So I don't know what to share here because Prabhupada has written such a wonderful realization, which is his specialty. And I was discussing with my wife and said that what else we can say and what else we can talk about this purport. It's so self-explanatory, nothing to share. But since we're engaged in devotional service and Amrish Prabhu keeps us under a hook so that we show up, we share, we read, we study, we make notes. So thank you, Prabhu. I know it's not easy. So, Prabhupada is our savior. We all know that. Prabhupada is our role model also because we try to follow Prabhupada by repeating his words. And we are small, little Prabhupada. And depending upon our purity, we are empowered to share our realization. So we do preaching, we try to do preaching, we do a lot of things. I'm talking about myself. But what I feel that it is a role modeling which is very important. Even the young ones, even anyone, if they see a role model, it is very easy to follow. And Prabhupada here is becoming our real model. He's a real, whenever he sees such a verse, when Krishna is giving very special message, every verse is special. But there are some verses where Prabhupada just puts his heart out. He wants to tell you so many things that wake up. And I've highlighted those things that where Prabhupada has specifically highlighted those type of people. So we are students of Bhagavad Gita, we are students of Bhagavatam. We have seen Vyasdeva writing those things. And believe me, those Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam would not have made sense to me if I would not have read these purports under the guidance. So thanks to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada, the point which he talks about, which I have highlighted, not much to share here. In the purport he writes, he explicitly explained this in the verse so that unauthorized commentators who try to understand Bhagavad Gita by the speculative process. So Prabhupada is talking to them also. Then he goes further down in the purport. These things are very difficult to understand by study of the Vedas or by philosophical speculation. These are the typical anomalies in our society where people are. This is a time when Prabhupada were preaching. Now it's a different time when we are preaching. And it's so different. Yeah, there was no social media at that time. And the peoples were different and their understanding was different. But even at that time, somebody tried to cheat Prabhupada and see what happened after that. That again became a role model. People got attracted to those kind of things and it just keeps happening. So as a devotee, we have to be true follower of Srila Prabhupada, become a role model so that people can understand how And I keep talking to new people almost every day. Wherever I get, so a lot of philosophy comes from all over the place. And then Prabhupada is further talking to unauthorized commentators, philosophical speculators. Then Prabhupada talks about those who want to follow rules and regulations. There are so many rules and regulations. And if you want to understand, then you have to follow these regulatory principles. And Prabhupada writes that what you should do. Then Prabhupada talks about the charity. As far as charity is concerned, it is plain that charity should be given to the devotees of Krishna who are engaged in devotional service to spread the Krishna philosophy. So again, Prabhupada is putting this verse in perspective. Fools, if you want to do this, this is the way. This is what you will get. This is how you do it. And Prabhupada writes for broader, I'm just repeating those points, nothing new. Krishna consciousness is a benediction to humanity, but people don't understand. They feel that AI is the benediction to humanity. And then Prabhupada writes here, and if what about if somebody is worshipping in the temple, so Prabhupada talks to them also. And if one worship as prescribed in the temple, what they should do? So he's giving example also from our Vedic scriptures. Then further, Sanjeev Prabhu highlighted that this knowledge cannot be understood unless somebody is trained. This came to my head long time back when I started associating with Amrish Prabhu. I was very surprised at why people do things, why somebody is not training. Then I thought, who is telling them? So the training is so important, but people don't want to get trained because their ego comes or whatever comes. So that's again, Prabhupada is giving examples. So similarly, there are many purports, and we all remember those verses. It's seed verses, you go of Bhagavatam. And Prabhupada just keep writing, puts his heart into it so that we can understand something and we can change our lives. So that's what I realized, Prabhu, this week. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you, His Grace Amrit Prabhu. Hare Grace Purnabhagya Mataji and His Grace Krishna Samarpan Krishna Prabhu for giving us opportunity and to study and share our realization, and also importantly training us how to study and how to actually follow this path of devotional service. And thank you, His Grace Sopan Prabhuji, Sanjay Prabhu and Avinash Prabhu for your very nice realizations. So I was also actually meditating on this verse as Avinash Prabhu pointed out that Srila Prabhupada has given a very elaborate purport, it's a very long purport and many points, to meditate on. So it took us a long time to actually just to understand this purport. I had to read a couple of times to actually just assimilate what are the points actually being discussed, So Prabhupada has covered many points. So, and as Sopan Prabhu and Sanjay Prabhu is also focus on the important point that Krishna can be only understood or seen by only pure devotional service and by no other mean. And also, Sopan Prabhu give many different examples of Amrish Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, how they actually implemented the instructions to become a pure devotees. And Sanjay Prabhu also focus on this point that actually knowledge, has to come from the bona fide parampara, and one has to get trained. Personal training, which is very important, as highlighted by both, Sanjay Prabhu and Avinash Prabhu as well. And many technical points, actually being discussed. So I can't actually repeat everything. So I will actually begin my realization now. Bhaktyatva anannaya shakya aham evam vidho arjuna Jnatum drushtum cha tatvena Parveshtum cha parantapa. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada Ji ki jai. My dear Arjun, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. So actually, I was reading the purport into the 1972 version as well, and this actually Veda based online. So there are some differences. Actually, the one that is online on the Veda base, actually they have actually used those references mentioned by Srila Prabhupada and quoted those verses as well in detail, which is good. But Srila Prabhupada has covered all those points into the original Bhagavad Gita as well. So as actually everyone shared, the main point here, Srila Prabhupada is stating that Krishna can be only understood by pure devotional service and by no other mean. So that is a point actually that stands out, and this is not a new point that actually we're hearing for the first time. I have heard this many times, in many of the Srila Prabhupada's lectures, and Amrish Prabhu has mentioned this many times. Maharaj always talk on this point, in his transcendental melodies. So this is nothing new, but actually when you read the purport, actually then you understand the nitty-gritties of actually what Srila Prabhupada is saying here. I remember this actually one lecture that I heard from Srila Prabhupada, where Srila Prabhupada actually was talking about on the point that actually seeing Krishna, everyone is interested to see the God. Everybody want to actually see him in person with their own eyes. Then and they can believe that God exists. So Srila Prabhupada was explaining this point, how we are such a rascal that we actually challenge Krishna and we want him to appear before him, so we can see him and then we can believe. So actually, I remember this very vividly that actually Srila Prabhupada mentioned that Srila Prabhupada made the statement that you can see Krishna everywhere. It's not difficult at all, And I was stunned by this point, and actually I was eagerly hearing what Srila Prabhupada was going to say the next. And Srila Prabhupada actually quoted this verse from Sri Brahma Samhita, chapter 5, verse 38, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochena Santaha Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti. So Srila Prabhupada says that you can see Krishna, but one has to develop the pure love for Krishna, and when you actually apply this anjan, the premanjan, this love, if you have the love in your eyes, and you apply this actually premanjan, then you can see Krishna everywhere, and as we know, I realized that point, and when we studied this universal form, in this chapter 11, I can actually understood, what Srila Prabhupada meant, that Krishna is actually present everywhere, he's present everywhere in this material world through his actually various expansions, he's present in every item as a Paramatma, in everyone's heart as a Paramatma, and everything is actually nothing but the expansion of Krishna in the form of different energies. So one has to develop that actually, the love, and also the knowledge is important, as Sanjay Prabhu also actually explained that if you're not actually getting the revelation in your heart, one has to actually study. Amrish Prabhu mentioned this point many times, that why Srila Prabhupada wrote all these books, because yes, it is possible to become Krishna conscious by just chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, but we cannot chant purely, without committing any offenses. Our chanting is always mixed with lot of impurities. We cannot focus, we cannot hear properly. So many things running in your mind at the same time as you chant. So as it said that if you're not actually feeling like you are actually progressing or not actually getting any realizations or the revelation of Krishna, then this is a time to study the books written by Srila Prabhupada. So this is very important. And Srila Prabhupada also said that, that's why I wrote all these books, because we actually we cannot able to get to the stage of pure chanting, and only by studying and actually realizing these points we can get to the stage one day. So this is very important, that actually to actually achieve the stage of this pure devotional service, what we're actually talking here is a systematic study is actually important, and as Avinash Prabhu mentioned, that actually one has to get trained, by a spiritual master who's from a bona fide parampara, and it is specifically mentioned, Srila Prabhupada, is personal training, which is actually also actually I focus also on the same point, that Srila Prabhupada specifically mentioned a personal training. So as to has maybe what Srila Prabhupada meant is by one-on-one training. So this is very important, that actually if one has to actually get trained, then it has to be actually through a bona fide parampara, and it has to be through bona fide knowledge. And after that training, then person can be actually guided on the right path to understand the Bhagavad Gita. That I personally also actually realize, many times I mentioned that I also tried to actually read Bhagavad Gita on my own in the past, but I couldn't able to understand a single point. But after I joined this program, and after the guidance of His Grace Amrish Prabhu, and after actually following this program for many years, now we can actually try to understand few points. So this is a main point actually I actually realized while actually meditating on this verse. And the another point actually I would like to mention means Srila Prabhupada has actually also mentioned the point of charity. So, that when I read this point, that charity has to be given to a person who's actually in the business of spreading this Krishna consciousness, in actually as instruction given by our actually parampara. So to that person we should actually donate, we can give some money, and that is the greatest charity Srila Prabhupada mentioned here. So I remember this point, and actually means we used to actually donate, and Amrish Prabhu, I remember this discussion that we normally didn't give the money to temple when he used to do the services here. We always give the things that is needed, flowers or groceries or something like that. So because we know the corruption is everywhere, even in the temple. So one has to actually ensure that actually money is actually utilized in actually devotional service. So that is one way to actually ensure that. Otherwise, sometimes people just donate and they forget, and sometimes your donation is used into some in a wrong means, or somebody is actually misusing that money. So that is not actually greatest charity, so if you are actually donating, then it is our responsibility to make sure that is actually used in a right purpose as well. So that is also on one of the point, Srila Prabhupada also highlighted that actually to whom one should donate, so it is clearly mentioned by Srila Prabhupada here. And Srila Prabhupada also talk about the actually technical aspect of actually various incarnations and expansions of Krishna. There is a whole chapter in Canto 1, the source of all incarnations. Actually, I remember those points, and there also it is mentioned ekecham shakla pumsa krishnastu bhagvanasve. It is also actually confirmed in many verses that Krishna is the two-handed form of a Krishna is the actual original form, and he is a Swayam Bhagwan. So Srila Prabhupada always give many references to the to prove that point. So for one who's not actually trained or not actually haven't actually one who has not developed a pure love for Krishna, it is very hard to understand, how actually Krishna appeared, into the 400 forms, and then he transferred into 200 forms. Srila Prabhupada mentioned that point, and I meditated on this point, and yeah, it is actually true. For one who has no faith, or very little shraddha, these point, they actually doubt these points, how that can be true. But one who has developed actually or under the training, under the right guidance, they may able to understand these points, properly. So this is very rare, so, and also another point actually Srila Prabhupada mentioned that there are actually different grades of devotees, and they're actually attracted by different actually incarnations or different expansions of Krishna, where Srila Prabhupada mentioned that one who's interested in elevating himself to the heavenly planets, by karma kand process, they may be attracted to the universal form, even that is material form. They may think that is the actually greatest form. So it's come to the actually the realization, of that devotee, particular devotee, to what level he is, or what is his motive in a devotional service. They may get attracted to that particular form. So one who has actually in the process of developing, or actually who wish to develop a pure love about Krishna, then they are actually definitely attracted to the original Sham Sundar form. Amrish Prabhu has also mentioned in the past that he said that the pure devotees are, they're not interested in the universal form, because there is no actually reciprocation. You cannot have actually the exchange of love with the actually universal form. But with the two-handed form, the Sham Sundar form, there is a reciprocation. One can actually establish a relationship with the Krishna, and that is actually two-handed form, which actually Krishna reciprocate with his devotee one-on-one. So there are many other points actually mentioned in this verse, and also Srila Prabhupada says that one has to actually follow the regulative principles. So that comes the 4 regulative principle as well. Also the various austerities that one has to perform. The fast and actually celebration of various the Janmashtami or Gaur Purnima. We do many things. So there is actually tapasya involved there, and also the 9 processes of bhakti. And I also remember that actually those 9 processes, Shavanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Arshanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmaniveda. So it is mentioned that even if we able to actually perfect one of those processes, still you can become a Krishna conscious. So, but actually I also heard that one has to actually try to do all those processes, should not just aim just one process. One should actually try to engage oneself into all those processes, as much as possible. So one can actually progress nicely on this path of devotional service. So these are the few points I realized. So many other points Srila Prabhupada mentioned. But this is where I conclude my realization. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you very much for your wonderful nectarian realizations. Thank you, Sopan Prabhu, Sanjeev Prabhu, Avinash Krishna Prabhu, and Sheetal Prabhu for nice realizations. And I resonate with this thought that Avinash Krishna Prabhu and Sarvasiddhi Mataji and also Sheetal Prabhu are sharing, that this verse is one of those verses where Srila Prabhupada has poured his heart, and the puppet has so many different aspects and realizations, and it's very, 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 very nectarian, and also very hard to cover all the points. So thank you for, I will just share 1 or 2 points by the devotees that have been shared. So Sopan Prabhuji mentioned about undivided devotional service, and how to achieve that by chanting and by sincerity. And also mentioned the verse of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 66, Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Braja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayasmi Ma Suchaha, which is so right. And Sanjeev Prabhuji also touched upon quite a few points. And one of the points that Sanjeev Prabhuji you shared was about revelation, which is also, I'm going to share my realization on that. I think it was a very important word there. Then that Krishna can be understood by undivided devotional service. And you also spoke about living link to disciplic succession, and the importance of the training and the source of the training to be pure and bona fide. Samam Bonam, Krishna being the source of all forms, Samam Bonam, so that point was raised as well. And importance of reading Srila Prabhupada's books if that revelation is not happening. So Avinash Krishna Prabhuji, as you mentioned, that Srila Prabhupada has poured his heart in this verse. I totally agree with that. I was also feeling the same, that this verse is, purport is just completely amazing. And then you also stressed about training, that, sometimes ego comes in and people don't accept the training. And then that is actually, I agree that becomes a detriment to their own progress. And then the charities should be given to devotees. Shita Prabhuji also mentioned about seeing Krishna in person, that you can see Krishna everywhere. Premanjana, to apply that, to develop that pure love for Krishna. And how Krishna is present in all his expansions and energies and in everyone's heart. And then you also stressed about revelation, and then training, importance of training, and then the charity to be given to the person who is in Krishna consciousness. And you touched base also upon penance and tapasya, which was very good as well. So thank you very much, all the wonderful devotees, for your wonderful realizations. I just want to cite the verse first, and then I'll share my realization as well. So we are on Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11, verse 54. Bhaktya tu ananya sakhya aham evam vido arjuna Jnatum drashtum cha tatvena pravishtum cha parantapa. Synonyms, translation, and proper by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So just one or two things that first came to my heart, really. The first word in this verse is bhakti, by devotional service. So I think that's the most important thing. And the next chapter, because I think we've got another one verse, and then we will touch base on chapter 12, which is devotional service, which is one of the very, very important chapters of Bhagavad Gita. So this is, I've said this before, is a preparation. And for me, this word stands out, by devotional service, because that is the only way, Srila Prabhupada says in the pulpit, is how we can see Krishna. And when I read this pulpit, I felt that the pulpit is written by a person who's actually seen Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada's pulpit reveals to me that Srila Prabhupada has seen Krishna and has always seen Krishna. And when you hear from somebody, when somebody speaks to you, then there is a difference in when the person has realized something or seen something, and when the person has not seen and is describing it. And this was the first thing that hit me, that only a person who's actually seen Krishna can then tell you how to see Krishna, and then convince you how to see Krishna, or on your quest to see Krishna. So this is one realization I had. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So the first point I wanted to talk about was Srila Prabhupada saying Krishna Su Bhagwan Swayam, which comes from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 3, verse 28. And this is a very, very important verse. And Srila Prabhupada mentions this verse in many, many lectures. And this is giving the explanation about Krishna, how Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God, and Krishna is not an incarnation, because even in India, where Krishna is known generally more than in any other country, there is a misconception that Vishnu is an incarnation, Vishnu is a source of, and Krishna is an incarnation, and like that. So in that verse, Srila Prabhupada has given some examples as to, the other incarnations and plenary portions originate from Krishna. and has given the reference like Lord Parshuram and Lord Nrsingadev have primarily shown opulence. Lord Ram and Dhanvantari primarily showed fame. Lord Balram, Mohini, Vamana, beauty. Dattatreya, Matsya, Kurma, Kapila, the transcendental knowledge. Nara, Narayan, Rishi, renunciation. But Krishna is a primeval Lord and he has exhibited all the features. So it's not that they don't exist in the other incarnations. It's only that they're primarily displayed or revealed. And for as far as devotees are concerned, Srila Prabhupada also says that, all the incarnations for us is the same. It's nothing like we don't get into the that distinction, so to speak. The other important word that I realized was revelation, as mentioned by earlier by other devotees as well, and Sudurdarsham, which is difficult to see. And so how Krishna is always ready to reveal to us. But how will Krishna reveal? That Srila Prabhupada says that when we are submissive and when we hear from authorities, when we try to become a devotee, try to be Krishna conscious, and not by experience or scholarship or any other way. And God's another name is Anubhav, realization. So revelation is very, very important. There's also reference of how to see Krishna. So it's Srila Prabhupada. I was listening to one of the other lectures, not pertaining to this verse, where I remember that Srila Prabhupada was saying that, Krishna is actually everywhere. But we can't see him because we don't want to see him. And it really struck me. And then Srila Prabhupada, as he is very, very well known for how to practically see Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada says, the verse Raso api aham kaunteya, that Krishna is in the taste of water. So when you're drinking water, you think, and when you taste the water, you can think of Krishna. When you look at the sun and the moon, the eyes of Krishna, you can think of Krishna. So practically how you can see Krishna, that Srila Prabhupada has given us an example. And then the difference between a person who can see Krishna and who cannot see Krishna. So there also is a very beautiful example that, the sun is always there. But in the darkness, because the planet is in a particular position, you cannot see the sun. But the sun is always there. Like that, Krishna is also always there, but we can't see him because of this reason that we don't have the eyes to see him. And then in another example, Srila Prabhupada also explains about how a child looks at a machinery and doesn't understand, but an engineer looks at the same machinery. So there's a difference between the seeing of the same object. To see Krishna means the first business is to become free from designations. The person is important, not designation. Sarvapadi vinirmuktam tat paratvena nirmalam. So how to become nirmalam? That is also explained, that you have to first be free of all the designations. There is also mention of Arjuna accepting Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Param Brahma Param Dham. So I think that is chapter 10, verse probably 12, 13, where Arjuna says that you are the Supreme Brahman, and you're the absolute truth and the primeval Lord. And before that, Krishna is obviously the seed verses of Bhagavad Gita come where Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhava, tasarvam pravartate. And those verses. Krishna Prabhupada also stresses the importance of so how we can understand that Krishna revealed first the 400 form and then the 200 form, and the importance of that is that Krishna is the source of the 400 form, and then the original form 200 form is also Krishna's. So that is the conclusion or derivation of conclusion there. So again, stressing the importance of Krishna is the source of all the incarnations and origin of everything. So I think I've covered most of the points that I wanted to say. I think there is a lot of other things that also have, to be very honest, I'm feeling quite overwhelmed by this purport. And I don't feel like I have covered all the points, but these were some of the points that came to my realization. And thank you once again, all the devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, is that it? Nobody else?
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you, His Grace Amrish Prabhuji, Her Grace Pon Pragya Devi Dasi Mataji, and Krishna Sammarpan Krishna Prabhu for giving us the opportunity to share our realizations. And thank you for all the wonderful devotees who have very nicely covered so many points which Srila Prabhupada has given in this purport. And Srila Prabhupada, as devotees have already mentioned here, that Srila Prabhupada has just poured his heart here, and when I read the purport of this verse here, I felt like So it's explained so nicely and so thoroughly that there's nothing left actually to, I don't know what to share actually, but I'll try my best. Bhaktya tvananya shakya ham eva vidhorjuna Gyatum drashtum cha tatvena praveshtum cha parantapa. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. My dear Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. So, as Pragya Mataji has already shared, that the most important first word here is bhaktya, and that is the word which attracted me as well when I just read this verse. So, how can one understand Krishna? And Krishna himself is revealing here to Arjuna that he is known, or he is to be understood only by the devotional service, bhakti. There is no other way to understand Krishna. Although by other ways, yogis, jnanis, karmis, all karma yogis, everyone wants to know Krishna. They want to understand Krishna, but as there is one more word has come here, Ananya, and Srila Prabhupada has given translation of that word is without being mixed with fruitive activities or speculative knowledge. And as we know that many times Amrish Prabhu has also shared that what we do, we try very hard, and still our bhakti is Mishran Bhakti, mixed devotional service. It's not the pure devotional service, but the pure devotional service is the only way when we start understanding Krishna. And that is also Sanjeev Prabhu shared here that because of the extreme mercy of Vaishnavas, that we get the chance to know about Krishna. And this is just the extreme mercy of Srila Prabhupada, that we know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Otherwise, we were in the same illusion that Krishna, the incarnation, Krishna is also incarnation of Vishnu, as it's very prevalently famous in India. All the Hindus just believe that. But just because of Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada has stressed in many of his purports that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he is the cause of all causes. All the incarnations come from him. He is the fountainhead of all the incarnations. And just to establish that point, Srila Prabhupada very nicely quotes so many verses from different scriptures, and that's how we have learned that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Otherwise, we were also believing the same thing which general masses of people believe. Then there are so many points all the devotees have covered, but the other point which very nicely has come up here is the unflinching devotion. So unflinching devotion, Srila Prabhupada has very nicely here said that one who has unflinching devotion for the Supreme Lord and is directed by the spiritual master, in whom he has Similar unflinching faith can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead by revelation. So Krishna has given everything here in Bhagavad Gita, but how do we understand that? Do we have that much knowledge that we just read and understand? No, we can't. So Srila Prabhupada has given us everything in understandable language, and then very nicely covered the points, what Krishna means, and how we can just do the devotional service. Srila Prabhupada has given that also to us, that firstly, when we are not even, we are humans, but not in the state of mind that we can do the devotional service. What to talk about the pure devotional service? So first we have to just follow 4 regulative principles so that we purify ourselves. Little bit purification is there, then we go to the next level, then we surrender to Guru and we learn from him, and because of his mercy or Vaishnava's mercy, we start learning, and then we just progress on the path of devotional service. Then unflinching devotion also means that constant and unbroken service, in spite of all types of miseries in the world come, but the pure devotee who has unflinching devotion towards Krishna, he doesn't deviate from his devotional service, and he continues the service, as we have talked about it in last class. Amrish Prabhu has shared very nicely how gopis have done it, although Krishna has gone away, and then still gopis think that we are in that position. We don't even die and we don't even live, but still they are doing the devotional service. So whatever happens, the pure devotee doesn't leave the devotional service, the love of God. So it's all the nice points here, which I have I have understood from this verse, and the relationship which we can maintain, we can establish with God, because each and every living entity has a special relationship with Krishna, but only because of the material nature he has forgotten, and when he revives it and he realizes that he has got a special relationship with God, that relationship, because Krishna is a person, so only in a personal form that relationship can be revived, not to the impersonal form, because if there is no one, how can we maintain a relationship? The loving relationship has to be with a personal person, with a person, not to the impersonal form. So this is all the points shortly I have just realized here. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you, His Grace Amrish Prabhuji, Her Grace Purna Pragna Mataji, and His Grace Krishna Samarpan Krishna Prabhu for giving this opportunity to share our realization on Bhagavad Gita. I would like to thank you all the devotees as well for sharing your nice realization. So I have just noted some few points from the first devotee's realization. As Sopan Prabhu mentioned, that one can be closer to Krishna by only doing a loving devotional service. And then Shital Prabhuji in his realization, he mentioned about the charity, that I can see that how Rahul Srila Prabhupada mentioned that we give the charity to whom where we progress in the, which helps to the progress in the Krishna consciousness. Then also Purnapragya Mataji mentioned about that how to see Krishna. You know, Krishna is everywhere, but we can't see because we don't want to see him. And she gives a really nice example of sun, that how sun is always there, but we can't see because of some we can't see sun every time. Also, Saraswati Mataji mentioned here about the unflinching devotion. It means the constant and unbroken service we should do at any situation. So these are really nice realizations. So my realization, I'll just quickly share, is very small one. So how it's mentioned here that only by keeping the faith on Krishna, one can see Krishna every time. So I was just thinking about this, and I remember the example of Tukaram Maharaj. You know, he was a great devotee of Panduranga, and he always chanting his name. But so many people criticize him, and then many times he was banned to enter into the temple. But Tukaram Maharaj was so focused on his on Krishna's bhakti, that is unflinching devotion, as Sir Siddhi Mataji mentioned. That Tukaram Maharaj was so focused on his bhakti, and then at the end, the result, Krishna, the Panduranga, come himself to take him. So so as he mentioned in our previous verses as well, we saw that Krishna's form is not it's very difficult to see to the Krishna's form, but by doing devotional service, and then doing all the bhakti and all, then we can see Krishna. We can see Krishna's form, or we can be closer to Krishna. So this is my small realization. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Jai Shri Ram, Hare Krishna. So thank you very much, dear devotees. You all have given very wonderful realizations. And I very much like when we take the time and make notes from what others have given their realizations, and we give their names and say, this is what I like. This is I like it very much. And so, Prabhu, one suggestion to you, because you read Srila Prabhupada's lectures and purports, you must mention this by Prabhupada. And you must mention these are my realizations. Because if you take Prabhupada's credit, that is very harmful to devotional service. Because everybody says, Prabhu said this Leela, that Leela, but you are giving Prabhupada's lectures, So be very careful. So whenever I say Prabhupada say this, you must note when I say things, all of you, Be very intelligently hearing things. I never say I say it. Okay? Be very careful. Thank you. So I think everybody has very, very nicely given all different points, different angles. I want to make sure that everybody is here. Everybody is not gone away. It's up to you. If you're gone, it's up to you. No problem.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. We are here.
So, yeah. So now I did not want to say my realizations. It is very late, But because we are coming to the end of the chapter, I felt that certain points are very significant for our understanding of this chapter and this verse. Because next week again, if there's a deeper realization of everybody, then we may not have the time for me to speak, So there's 2 points I would like to say. Thank you very much to all of you. First point I wanted to say is that everybody mentioned about, we all realize when Prabhupada mentions Bhaktyatvananyaya Shakya Aham Evam Vidho Arjuna Gnatum Drustum Cha Tatvena Praveshtum Cha Parantapa. So we all realize the two as but is significant. It emphasizes the word. That is why when we say that but is a very negative word. Negative word means it eliminates what has been spoken and emphasizes on something else. So we all said this but devotional service is emphasized here. When it is mentioned that by devotional service, but without being mixed with fruitive activities and speculative knowledge. So it's only pure devotional service has to be performed. That is the emphasis given here, right? Okay. Second thing which I want, which we felt that as devotees we must know and understand, is that even in the purport, when Srila Prabhupada gives the references, see Prabhupada, wherever there is a chance to prove Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Prabhupada would give all emanations to us to understand as preachers. That's what Prabhupada are doing, nothing else. Prabhupada are giving all information about why Krishna is God. Now in that, there's one reference which all of us gave is about Bhagavatam, about Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Prabhupada mentions that amongst all the different incarnations, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But we forgot a but here in this. So like in the verse which we're discussing, there's a but too. There's a two here also. Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Mudayanti Yuga Yuga. Now be with me. I had discussed this point, I think last week in a Sunday class or a week before. So let us go word to word here. Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsa. Ete means all these incarnations, which has been given. Chamsa is made up of two words, Cha and Amsha. Amsha means plenary portion. Complete, but in different portions of it. Cha means end. Okay, so all these end plenary portions. Kalaha means portions of the plenary portions. Pumsaha, the supreme. So there is Lord, there's plenary portion, there's portion of plenary portion, there's portion of plenary portion, there's portion plenary portion, portion plenary portion, but all are Vishnu Tattvas. This is what we have to understand. And we'll come to that in my next point. But this point cannot be heard and understood just like that. It has to be meditated upon. This two, that we missed the two here, in the purport also. So here it is mentioned that among all these portion, plenary portion, part of the plenary portion, Pumsa, the supreme of the supreme, Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna means Krishna too, but Bhagavan, the supreme person of Godhead, Swayam in person. And then the next two lines is a different line. Why he comes? Indrari Vyakulam Lokam. Mrudayanti Yuga Yuga. Indrari has got two meanings. The enemies of Indra. Ari means enemies of Indra. And the atheists also. This is another inferred meaning. So in translation, Prabhupada doesn't talk about enemies of Indra. It doesn't make sense. Prabhupada says atheists. So this is how we understand that Indra is a theist. That's why it's always been preferred by Krishna. That's why it fits into the point where we discuss the pastime of Bali Maharaj. Where Bali Maharaj gave away everything, and when everything was lost, he said, "What else do you have? Nothing else." He gave his head. And materially person would think that, oh, he gives head, such a great personality. But Krishna says, even head is not yours, how can you give it to me? And that was agreed by the grandfather of Bali Maharaj, who was present there. And who's that? Who's the grandfather of Bali Maharaj who's present there?
Prahlad Maharaj?
Prahlad
Yes, that's right. He said, yes, you are right, absolutely right, my dear Lord. He is wrong to say his head, giving his head. Head is also yours. And once it is done, he says, now I'll give you go to this lower planets, hellish planet, but the kingdom is very high than even Indra, as good as his. See, you understand this. Sutala is hellish planet, but higher than Indra. So it's a very complex situation about things. We'll understand things very differently. Yeah. Some of the most beautiful women are in those planets where Naga lives. Naga Patnis, Naga lives, They are very beautiful. Imagine this. And there is no sunlight coming. The light is only through the gems on the head of the snakes. Imagine this. But still hellish planet. Let's just continue. That's part of our not discussion point here. So that is the reason why when Bali Maharaj went, immediately Krishna called Indra, my brother, and gave him all the glories. Take this. You see? So if you do not understand, if excuse me, I'm very sorry. If we do not understand the gamut of things, we will think that, oh, it looks very sad for Bali Maharaj, that he had to go away, shun away. Although he gave away everything as a very righteous person, which he was. That's why he's worshipped today also, the Bali Maharaj, you see. And his descendants are still, they were still fighting with Krishna. You see, Krishna glorified them also. We'll talk about that when the time comes, So now, here also there's two, emphasizing Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In our words that we are discussing is also two, which spoke Bhagavad devotional service pure devotional service is important, away from mixed bhaktis and all that. Yeah? Right. Second point, which interests, which is what we should, I feel that we should emphasize upon, because all of the points are very important, all of you have covered. This point is a little bit uncovered. That is in the translation, you see, Prabhupada writes this, my dear Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am. First point. Standing before you. Second point. And can thus be seen directly. Third point. Only in this way can you enter into my mysteries, enter into the mysteries of my understanding. The mysteries is not the word given in the word-to-word synonyms. It is an inferred meaning because of the word praveshitum. That is to enter into. So to enter into is given here. You only in this way you can enter into what? The mysteries of my understanding. So what is the mystery of my understanding? It is not as simple. It's much deeper. Simply means say yes, mystery of understanding Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, all these things. Right. A little more deeper, we'll say yes, meaning that the 400 form is different to 200 forms. That's right. It is deeper, no doubt about it. But I want you to all of us stay with us. Understand this way. Same words which we discussed. Ete chamsa kala pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Prabhupada writes that. The mystery is hidden here. Okay? Cha amsa, plenary portion. Kala, portion of the plenary portion. Pumsa, complete personality of Godhead. So of the complete personality of Godhead, portion of the plenary portion, portion of the portion of the portion of the plenary portion, all these things. But Krishna is Bhagavan Swayam. So what is the mystery? The mystery is this, which is given as pure devotional service. Only by undivided, O Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood. What does it mean? It would mean this way that in the impersonal form, we cannot love Krishna, as I think Avinash mentioned this point, which is correct. We discussed that point, right? So we discussed that that's why Arjuna was given the eyes. Right. It is still a gray area. What do you mean? So we understood, yes, Krishna was given eyes because Krishna is used to seeing Krishna. Arjuna was used to seeing Krishna's personal form. That's right. So what do you mean by this? The answer is in this. Kala, Pumsa Kala, etc. Now see, Krishna never exits Golok Vrindavan. He doesn't even come to Vaikuntha. Please excuse me. I'm not a big Pandit. I'm just letting you know. This is what I have understood. Now the 400 form which is shown here, which we discussed last week, was that of Lord Narayan, Vishnu form. That form exists in Vaikuntha planets. Okay? But those who are personal, you can have relationship with that form. is awe and reverence. The personal relationship is without awe and reverence is very hard in that form too. That is the reason why Arjuna, to pacify him, Krishna showed his two forms. So what is before that? So Krishna's form is original supreme. 400 form is that of Narayan, Vaikuntha. And then what is this form of universal form? We'll go further deeper. After that, when in the Karanodakshaya Vishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. So Karanodakshaya Vishnu comes from the Karana ocean, which is after Vaikuntha, into the Brahmajyoti area, where Karanodakshaya ocean exists after Vaikuntha, around that. And then we say sometimes there is material sky comes when he's resting, and then he manifests. And from there he goes into Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Now, at Garbhodakshaya Vishnu stage is not in the Vaikuntha planet. It is after that. Now, this particular form of universal comes at the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu stage. That's when Brahma is born from the navel of Lord Vishnu. So, mysteries of Krishna has to be understood in this way. That is the reason why Arjuna to be given special eyes to see, listen, we are now we are talking about my form, which is not here, not here, not here. It is here, which is the material world. So the form which has been shown as universal form of chapter 11, I wanted to make sure that we understand this point. Even if it is just knowledge for us right now, just hearing, please hear it. We may realize it a bit later on. That's perfectly all right. But I wanted all of us to have this knowledge, this information, this knowledge that the universal form is through the Garbhodakshaya form. Because Kshirodakshaya form is the form of Paramatma. It is this Paramatma form in which all Krishna's incarnations are born, which that verse has come. Ete cham sapakala pumsa Krishnastu Bhagwan Swayam. But Krishna comes as full Bhagwan. So he's not from that form of Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. It's a Vishnu form. Okay. Now please don't ask me intelligent questions. It's very difficult for me to understand and grasp the subject matters. I just thought this could be of some importance and some interest to some of us before we complete this particular chapter. Okay. Thank you very much. Does anyone want to say anything? Please feel free. Shila Gurudev ki jai.